What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things,
With Shawn and Andrew.
a podcast all about couples.
And the things they go through.
This interview was long overdue because they are very close friends of ours. We've been hanging out for a long time.
Went to Mexico with them.
I don't know why we didn't have them on the show sooner, but Todd and Katie, Todd Anderson, Katie Hoff. Katie Hoff is a legend. I have known her since the 2008 Olympics. She's an Olympic swimmer. Todd is newer to this relationship, not like with them, but like with us.
The girls have known each other for a long time.
Yes.
Todd and I just met.
Yes. But we get
What a weird way to say that.
I know. But we get to know Todd a lot better. I feel like we know him really well as like a close friend, but to hear his backstory, how him and Katie met, and kind of a lot of the struggles that they've gone through together was really, really cool.
I really like their relationship. When I think about them, I think about this unrelenting support, which is pretty refreshing to see. Todd and I also just bond over sauna and ice bath. He's kind of the one that got me into that. So
yeah, he is.
anytime Todd and I hang out, we're usually shirtless, sweating in a sauna. And I don't know what to do with that information, but that's just the way it is. We also did a mission trip with them. We built a house in Tijuana for a family over the course of a weekend. It was fantastic. But I'm excited to introduce you to these two because we've been spending quite a bit of time with them.
Yes.
And they just moved to Nashville. Todd will tell you about his experience with the NFL. He tells some crazy stories, dude. Oh my, I'd never heard those stories.
And then Katie will walk you through her Olympic career as a 2-time Olympian, 3-time Olympic medalist, 8-time world champion. But like all of these stories, there's so much going on behind the scenes that you don't get to see. And she kind of tells those stories and how she overcame them.
That's right. So if you want to find out more about what these two are up to, Todd makes some really helpful Instagram videos for those interested in biohacking and that type of stuff.
And Katie is getting ready to launch the coolest podcast ever.
Can't mention it yet. Don't spoil it, but
please
it's coming.
Just go follow her because it's coming.
Check it out. And these two also have a couple different businesses they're involved with, including one called Synergy Dryland, where they help cross-train swim teams. So anyway, they're interesting to say the least. We hope you think the same. Without further ado, we bring you Todd Anderson and Katie Hoff. How long have we known you guys?
What, 5 months?
5 months.
6 months.
February of this year?
February. When we moved February 9th.
Which is weird. I feel like I've known you guys for a lot longer already.
I mean, we like made eye contact in 2008.
Pretty much that's it. Yeah.
What's the story behind that? I'm curious.
We were at the same Olympics.
Yeah. I feel like it was closing ceremonies.
Yeah.
Like we made eye contact.
You guys are both like the top athlete in your sport too, right? Like pretty much.
What is that?
I feel like it's hard for any athlete to like claim.
Let's get a quote. You were the top athlete.
No.
And still are.
No.
I'm making a comeback.
Yeah. Oh, God.
You're right.
We're actually here to announce that 2024.
Yeah, we're both running. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Could you imagine?
I was talking about the Olympics. You were talking about presidency, but
yeah, that too. Yeah.
You got big aspirations.
So you guys met in 2008 at the Olympics, just made eye contact.
Yeah. At closing ceremonies.
And then what was the next interaction between you two?
In your home.
Yeah.
2022.
Which is also really weird because I feel like I know you so well because I know of you.
Same.
And I was like, oh, Katie is in my house. But I actually don't know you. But I know you.
I know.
I don't know.
I felt the same.
Yeah.
I felt the same.
Then we had the most awkward bow towards each other at the end of the night.
No.
That wasn't my fault.
And
I'm really bad at saying bye on the phone and bye in person. It's like
same.
a flaw.
I don't know how to like
depart.
wrap it up. Yeah.
A bow isn't in the cards, regardless.
Hey,
that's never
that was your wife, okay?
Oh, I know.
She initiated the bow.
I mean, imagine 8 years of bowing like things happening.
And I literally bowed back.
You
I was
did
like,
bow back.
Oh, okay.
But out of pity.
I was like, okay.
Me and Andrew caught up fast. You had like 6 out of the first 8 days I was here. I think you're at our house.
So the way I guess this all came together was saunas. Pete, our mutual friend who has a sauna company, Sisu Sauna, said, "Hey, I'm going to this guy's house, putting in a sauna there. Come over and check out the sauna and see if you want one."
Yeah.
So I show up, knock on the door. Todd answers, and like pretty much immediately I was like, "Nope, Duke can hang." There's a kettlebell on the front porch.
There is a kettlebell on the
To be
front
honest,
porch.
like I didn't know who you were for like 30 seconds because Pete told me that, but there was like a lot going on. We just moved in and like he's like, this guy might come over. And I kind of forgot he said that. So someone knocked on the door and I was like, what's up? Like, I was like, it's not,
I feel like
it's
it
not
was a little
DoorDash.
bit. You both were like, I think you were like, is this the right house?
I don't think
like,
it's DoorDash. I don't really know what to expect.
But it was just like kind of just hit the ground running. Like, what's up, dude? Nice, dope. We got steak on the grill. Dope.
Yeah.
Okay, sick. All
That
right.
was a pretty.
Now
we did have steak
that
on
was-
the grill.
that was
You
a
really
great
walked
meal.
into like a great environment. Like just steak was like ready.
It was
'Cause
on
we
the
were
plate.
late, a little late, of course.
Of course. Always.
Half hour late. And
Always. The other day, you recently went to the fight together in Nashville. He said he was
we had bets.
beyond impressed that you showed up on time, which was already an hour late.
Hour and a half actually.
Hour and a
but-
half.
No, I told him that I was not going to be there at 5. You got there at when?
6.
5. Yeah.
But you told an hour before. so if it was like the day before, it'd be like, that's valid.
Good man.
So we were there at 6, and he's like, I won't be there till.
You brought this up, to be fair. You
7?
brought this up.
And then me and Walker were taking bets. Walker said, I bet he's not here till 8:30. And then 2 minutes later, you popped in and it was like,
the freaking boys,
Yeah.
baby.
yeah. So
How'd you guys meet?
Do you want to? You always say that I butcher it, but I'm gonna go.
No, let's get Katie's story first.
Okay,
for sure.
I'm more
and you,
detailed
You do
than-
cleanup squad.
Yeah.
okay, and I'll fact check.
Okay. So basically, I was training for 2012 trials in Naples, Florida, and I
Pause. For those who don't know what you're training for the Olympics for, what's a little bit about your background?
If you've been living under a rock forever.
I was a swimmer, and so at that point, I had made the 04 and 08 Olympics, which is
Casual.
where I met Shawn.
Yes.
Or made eye contact with
You
Shawn.
made eye contact.
And I had moved to Florida to go back with one of my older coaches. 8 months out of trials, it was actually kind of like a pivot. Like didn't think, which is kind of cool, like that we met because of that. And yeah, moved there in January. Left my place in California, which is where I was living, and moved into this fairly furnished place just to like give it a go. I was really struggling prior to 2012, so needed a change of scenery. And yeah, I was just excited to kind of get out of a rut and see what I could do to make my third team. And we met like 3 weeks after I moved to Naples.
Yeah.
A mutual friend, which this is how it started. A mutual friend connected me with another football guy who ended up being a total jerk. So I'd met him and he was like, oh, like come out, like, which in Naples, Florida, I was like, are there even bars? Are there, like, is it just old people land? But turns out it's not.
Now it's
And
super not. Now it's like trendy.
it's trendy, yeah. And so I met them out at this bar, and I remember meeting Todd, and I was like, dang it, like, he's cuter and funnier. But, like, I was already talking to the
Well,
other guy.
I was there training for pro day.
Yeah, he was training for football.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about football. Like, the guy that I was talking to was like, yeah, like, I ran, like, a 4.8 or 4.7, and I was like, is that good? Like, like, he was trying to impress me with his 40, and I was just like, I don't even know anything about football or NFL.
But I was
and
like, I benched 225 35 times. It's way more important than the 40. Yeah.
But basically, like, we at that point parted ways because I was staying in Naples. He was still going back to Michigan State to finish training. And we just kept in touch. And basically, like, I saw that he got picked up by the Rams. And so I just texted him, like, that's awesome. Congrats. And I just remember the thing about you I remember is he was just very curious. Like, he was asking me so many questions just about swimming and my diet, and was just like very interested. And I thought that was unique. And so right before Olympic trials, he was like, oh, I'd like love to rep like for you going to trials. Like, do you have a USA swimming shirt? And I was like, oh yeah, like no big deal. But like XXL is not like running rampant in sizes for swimming.
That
So
was thick.
You didn't
That
ask for a
thick
USA
back
Speedo or anything? You just said T-shirt. That's surprising to me, knowing you now.
but he would wear
then.
Speedo.
A Speedo?
I just figured that I
I've
could
worn
see
a
you in the
Speedo
stands.
one time in my life, and it's because someone bought it for me, the USA one. That's not my vibe at all.
You should look into that. Maybe wear more Speedos. Anyway, that's it.
That sounds weird.
Yeah.
That sounds weird.
Maybe wear more Speedos.
Anyway,
Noted.
Double XL.
Noted.
Okay.
Double XL. So I like went to all this effort. I ordered it. I got it. I FedExed it and sent it. And long story short, trials did not go well for me. I ended up getting sick at the trials. And you can attest to this. Like, no one knows what to say when it doesn't go well.
No.
Like, people are just like, all you want is a hug and a acknowledgement. And people are like, it's okay, it's all right. And you're like, it's not okay, it's not all right. And he texted me, I remember distinctly sitting there sulking at an ice cream shop with my parents. And he just texted me, thoughts and prayers are with you, with 3 purple hearts. And I was like, oh, like this guy gets it, you know, like he just understands. Purple's my favorite color. And we just started talking more and more from there. And he invited me to Michigan State because at that point I'm like booking a million trips because I'm like, if I am home, I'm reminded of the fact that I'm not on the team. And I was like, I think you think I'm not going to come because we don't know each other that well, but like I
didn't think she was going to come.
Yeah, I'm booking the flight. So I booked the flight and yeah.
You know, when you're like, you come, you know, like it's like, you're not going to come. Yeah. Like, no. She's like, no, I'm really coming. I'm like, yeah, totally, but she's not going to come. And yeah, she came. So yeah, we were just hanging out. We had like a month till like OTAs or whatever. And we were like going out, just having a good time hanging out. And actually, was like had like a girlfriend, and we got in a fight the day before she came. And we broke up.
Stop.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Like, so I was actually like gonna stay over there, and Katie was gonna stay in my bed. Like that was kind of the plan.
No, bro. That was not the plan. Katie's coming in town.
I didn't even.
We were like texting. It was like potential texting, but it wasn't like
when I invited her. Like I didn't even know that she had broken up with her previous boyfriend. Like because I didn't talk to her about that stuff. It was just
she
like
was coming just to like
hang. Yeah, like we were having. Like I knew she was like sad. Like come hang out.
She was being a good friend.
But you were interested. As a parent, I spend more time scrolling through the TV and like all of the programs trying to find kid-friendly content than I would care to admit to. And it's really hard to find something that checks all of the boxes and is like good morals, good values, teaches your kids good things,
but also is entertaining.
It's impossible to always find, and it takes so much effort until we found the streaming service Minnow.
Minnow is the premier streaming service for kids that offers faith-based and values-driven content that parents can always trust. We are so excited to be partnering with Minnow because we truly believe in this company and what they stand for.
Minnow has tons of shows, movies, and devotionals that touch on a variety of topics to keep your kids engaged while also filling their minds with what matters most.
Some of our kids' favorite shows include VeggieTales, classic, I grew up on it, Coco Talk, they got the Laugh and Grow Bible series. There's so much good stuff on there. Over 3,000 different videos that your kid will love and you can trust.
It's perfect for family movie nights, sick days, or just some downtime. And let me tell you, guys, I have notes in so many places around our house, on my phones, of blacklisted shows. You never have to worry about that with Minnow. It's all amazing content.
Plus, all their shows and movies are screened by a team of parents, pastors, and educators to ensure that they're age-appropriate, entertaining, and align with faith-based values. I love that we never have to worry about questionable content or ads popping up because we know that Minnow has our kids' best interests in mind. Not to mention that the shows are cute, catchy, and super fun. Our kids love them.
Whether you're a parent looking for content to watch together as a family or just need a break and want to be able to press play and feel okay, try Minnow.
We stream Minnow in our house, and we want you to do the same. Head to gominnow.com and use the code FamilyMade to get your first month for free.
That's GOMINNO.com/FamilyMade for 1 free month of Minnow streaming service.
If you want shows that are as entertaining and engaging as everything else, but that reflect your values and teach your kids about the things that actually matter, sign up for Minnow today.
You were flirty.
I was going to say,
look back at the receipts.
I was going to say, props to you for breaking up with your girlfriend the night before she came. Good job.
That wasn't the plan, but it worked out very well. So
you'd be like, hey, I'm single now.
You're like, perfect.
Yeah.
But we hit it off. I mean, instantly hit it off.
Well,
like,
yeah.
What?
Well, I mean, it was good timing though with the whole drug testing thing. So, I mean, not many people even know, but like the reason I didn't ever, the NFL kind of stopped is I failed a drug test.
What?
Yeah. I mean, this is I guess not that many people.
You were
gonna
go for
it. So like back then, this was like way before, and the rules were all different. Everything was the same. Like everything was a 4-game suspension, like a performance enhancer. I had a month off. We were going to my buddy's place on Lake Michigan. Had to wake up super early and drive. And I had some of those like Oxy Elite Pro fat burners on the counter, like a sample from the Arnold Classic. Mm-hmm. I was so tired, and I knew like they were kind of sketchy, but I'm like, I have a month off, whatever. Take them just to wake up in the morning, get halfway, NFL calls, drug test, pull over, try to throw up, drink a gallon of water. This is what's crazy though. This is how like it, it's meant to be. The NFL had my wrong number. The last 4 of my number is 4504. They called 4505. Randomly, the person they called happened to know my parents, who gave my parents' number. My parents gave the NFL. So if like they didn't like, it would have been flagged just like incorrect information. Yeah. Nothing would have happened. Parents gave the NFL my number, drug test. So this had just happened the weekend before, and I was like freaking out in my head because I'm like, the process takes forever, months. And like as soon as she landed, like knowing like, she's been drug tested a million times. Like, I'm like, as soon as she landed, I'm like, I don't know. I need to talk to someone about this, but I'm like freaking out. I think I failed a drug test. Like, I don't know what happened. And,
I got in the car. He's like, I failed a drug test. I was like,
I wasn't sure. I'm researching, but it was just like, that weighs heavy on you. And so ended up like 3 months later, like when I was in camp and going to get invited back for like, practice squad and stuff, like it went through, and sure enough, that was it. And then they were like, we're going to call you back and practice squad regardless, whatever. And call never came. And at that point I was like, I was ready to be done. And then moved in with Katie.
Did the fat burners work?
I mean, clearly not that well. They didn't back then. I was about 270, but no, I mean, they woke me up enough
thick neck. Like really thick.
Well, as soon as I got that call, I didn't need him. I was awake at that point.
Dang, bro, that's a bad feeling.
I will say
that 10 seconds. Oh my gosh,
frick, man.
I will say not many people, unless you've been in like the WADA USADA or NFL program, understand the drug testing that's involved.
I mean, they drove my buddy's house.
Yeah.
2 days in a row.
Yeah.
I also like now I would have had 3 slap on the wrist before anything happened. Back then it was 4 game suspension no matter what. So.
Ugh. Yeah. Whereas like with WADA, you can't eat a poppy seed muffin.
Yeah, you're like, I remember visiting him, going into GNC. He was like, you want to get like a power bar? And I was like, no,
absolutely
like, you're so paranoid.
So you guys kind of met at vulnerable times and pivotal times in both your lives.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why. So yeah, the end of the story, it's why we were kind of just like YOLO. We left Michigan State. He told me the story. We had a great time that weekend. And then we were keeping in touch, like FaceTiming every day. And I was like just feeling awful for him of how he was feeling like this like pit in his stomach.
Because I'm going through camp knowing at any moment this could happen. Like,
which is awful.
Horrible.
So I was like, okay, I got to do something for this guy. Like, what can I do? And so I wanted to surprise him at a game, and it was Kansas City versus Rams. But I was like, I didn't know him that well. And I was like, again, like coming from the athlete perspective, I don't want to just show up at this game if that's going to distract him. So I somehow got his mom's number, cold called his mom, and was like, hey, I'm your son's friend. And she tells the story. She's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to, I want to surprise him at the game. Like, will you guys be there? Like, how do I go about it? How do I book a hotel? Would this distract him? And she's like, oh my God, no, like, come. So I end up meeting his parents. They picked me up at the airport and surprised him at the game.
Wow.
They picked me up with like a small Rams shirt. And I'm like, okay, like I have lats out to here. Like, great.
Yeah,
I'm like stretching
you were
it.
strong back then.
Like diesel lats. And then, like he ended up getting cut because of all of that. Like 2 months later, flew back out to Michigan, and we decided, we were in a bar, and he's like, just cancel your flight. I'm like, okay. So I call, because back then you can't do it via an app. I call, cancel my flight, and we convinced his parents that it was a good idea for us to drive 20 hours from Michigan to Naples, Florida, where I still had a place, and move in together.
This is how soon after you met?
We've been dating like a month.
Wow.
Yeah. You came and visited like a day after I got released, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like very like
sad then, though.
So
I remember
sad.
I got released, called Katie, had to drive home from St. Louis, stopped at McDonald's, Big Mac, fries.
You were done in like 7 minutes. You called me back. I was like,
and then so I'm from like the smallest town. Like we didn't even have a stoplight. We have a blinking red light. Like, one of my best friends had rodeos at his house. Like that's the kind of small town I'm talking about. And I remember it was like midnight, and I call my best friend. I'm like, I'm gonna get some beer. Like, you got to come over. Like, this sucks. And I stop, and I have a Ram shirt on still. And I go into the gas station, my small town. He's like, did you hear a guy from Napoleon, that's my town, is playing for the Rams? And I was like, nope, didn't hear that, because no one's playing there now based on this moment. So
yeah.
What was it like getting cut for you?
Like the actual moment?
Yeah.
I had Jeff Fisher. I mean, he was it was weird because it was like, hey, we're going to release you, but we're going to bring you back. So it wasn't really like I was getting cut, you know.
But it was some guy. It wasn't Jeff Fisher who called you. He called you into. Wow.
No, he in the office.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I was that sad because, like, you know, I thought I was going to get brought back for practice squad, and I did pretty well, and I fit the offense really well. I mean, there wasn't that many teams using a fullback, but, you know, Brian Schottenheimer was the offense coordinator, and it fit really well. And then literally I got released on whatever day that was, and then, you know, they did practice squad stuff, I think 3 days later. In between there is when the drug test came out. That was it.
This fall, we've been passionate about family traditions. And one of my favorite fall traditions is making pumpkin French toast for breakfast, because pumpkin is everything. It leaves your house smelling dreamy all day long. And something else I've been passionate about is making sure I'm using top of the line ingredients and making simple swaps where we can.
We've officially made the swap to Eggland's Best Eggs, which has been a game changer considering we eat eggs for breakfast. We use eggs for baking, for cooking, you name it. We eat a lot of eggs in the East House.
We do.
And we're big fans of Eggland's Best because they're available in classic, cage-free, organic, hard-cooked, and various frozen varieties. So there's an egg for every occasion. Who knew?
Plus, they have been the recipient of more than 100 awards for their superior taste, nutrition, freshness, and variety. So you know their eggs have got to be good. What's most important to me is that compared to ordinary eggs, Eggland's Best Eggs contain 6 times more vitamin D, 25% less saturated fat, 10 times more vitamin E, and more than double the omega-3s and vitamin B12s.
I feel like it's so apparent whether you're eating a high-quality egg or a low-quality egg. And how do you tell? Answer me.
Taste.
Yes. And
color.
Yes, exactly. The color of the yolk.
Yes.
Anyway, how can you tell that you're using an Eggland's Best Egg? Look for the distinctive EB stamp right on the shell. Eggland's Best Eggs are available nationwide. To find a local retailer, visit egglandsbest.com.
And if you want to make your own pumpkin French toast or watch Andrew and I make it, you can find the video of our family recipe on YouTube. Just search East Family.
Let's go. We'll link it down below. That just made me think. Remember the first time I got cut in Kansas City? We were in the hotel room they had us up at. And I saw the call come through. They just called me. And
that's like,
I didn't pick it up
the
the
first
first
time.
time.
Like bring you didn't even have a meeting
They
or
brought
anything?
you in to return your playbook and everything. But that was
savage.
it.
Oh, wow.
The Seahawks cut me over Twitter. Kid you not. I got a call from my...
We found out.
I got a call and they were
Twitter.
like, hey,
X.
I just saw a tweet.
It's X.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
But I remember I didn't pick
We
up.
name them all anymore.
In Kansas City, I just didn't want to pick up the phone. Like that would solve
Like that
the
wouldn't
problem.
make it happen
Yeah,
anymore.
like they're not going to cut me. if
That
I
would
don't pick
actually
this
solve
up.
my drug testing problem.
But then you're like, reflecting back on that moment, it's like,
Yeah.
it feels like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, this is the end of life as I know it, and all my plans and hopes end here.
It was.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
Wait a second.
it goes through
Yeah.
like, maybe it's like an hour of hurt, maybe it's less, could be more. But then you're like, at some point I was like, well, what the frick am I gonna do then?
Yeah.
Here
You know
we go.
what's weird for me though is I think this is how I knew I was ready to be done. Is like it was like borderline a sense of relief because like my body I had surgeries in my quad and I just feel like I was barely hanging on half the time. So
Well, you had multiple concussions.
so after those 4 games I didn't even try to do the whole free agency parade.
I feel like especially with your career having gone the way it had, and you had ended with the Olympic trials. I remember after Andrew got the call, there was a big group of Kansas City Chiefs players that we were meeting at Topgolf, and it was like tradition on this day, on cut day, you would always go there with this big group, and it was like celebration and grief almost, but you were always together.
That's kind of cool though.
It was really
Wasn't
really
cool if you
sweet
got cut because everyone's like, you know what to say.
but it was very 50-50, and it was a lot of people who understood the process. But I remember walking into Topgolf and just seeing on people's faces, it was kind of like, oh, you could tell. But there's something about being a former athlete of like knowing.
That feeling.
Because you know the weight. Whether you're done with it or not, you've invested so much.
Yeah.
And I could just tell, especially the first time, because you weren't ready to be done. You thought you were signing an 8-year contract and we were going to be there. We were looking at houses.
The guy who beat me out is still there. Like, so it would have been a 15-year career. Like, I blew it. Literally, I blew it.
Yeah, and the Chiefs story was meant to be.
I lost my marbles, dude.
They would have had if they would have kept you, way more Super Bowls for the Chiefs.
So many more.
They think it's a dynasty. It's
so
nothing.
But it was fun. But the look on your face and like understanding the weight that you felt of like knowing everything that you had ever trained for was done for in that moment.
Yeah.
How did you, as a new girlfriend, like console him? Because you want to be like, oh, it's not a big deal.
I know.
But in your heart, you're like, I know you're dying inside a little bit.
The problem was that we were both dying inside.
Yeah.
So like I hadn't made the team. He, got cut. I feel like that piece like brought us together so much because it was just like, okay, and for better or for worse, we were just like, we're just gonna move on together. We're gonna distract ourselves. I think just having his presence and like you said, it was an unspoken thing. It was just, I understand you. I don't need to, and I think mine was like, pow, I'm like having an emotional breakdown, like crisis. His was like almost drawn out because he went in and
mine like lingered for 7 years, like gradually.
And then mine, but like he went in and started interning with a performance facility that he had trained at. So you kind of just buried yourself. And I actually remember thinking, how is he fine? Like, like we just have different ways of dealing with it. But I just remember thinking, like feeling bad, like how am I this upset? And just thinking like, based on our conversations, that he was good because he buries, I eject.
And I thought I was good. You don't, you think you're good till you're not. It's kind of like you don't realize you were out of shape until you're in shape again. Same idea.
True. Yeah. But I just remember being very impressed with, and I still like, even though you were going through it, I feel like you did handle it so well of being like, okay, like, I went from walk-on to playing in the NFL and like having gratitude for that and then transferring into normal life. But there were a lot of, I feel like we watched Friday Night Lights together on one date night and we both started bawling, just bawling. And I was like, that was
not the movie to watch in that situation. Tim McGraw like puts the ring on his finger after they lose. I was like,
just like, and I was like, oh my God.
I'm like trying to like look away. Like my contacts are just, I've been wearing these for 3 weeks. I really need a new pair.
That was the first time I saw you cry.
Yeah, well, as I get older, happens more and more.
Oh, it happens more and more.
I'll be watching TikTok and I'll just be like, I'm on the airplane watching TikTok and I'm just like crying.
I had to emotionally console Todd over text yesterday.
Yeah.
But we made it through.
Yeah.
What?
Just to...
I did text your brother yesterday or 2 days ago and I said, by far, Andrew has taken the crown for the worst texter I know.
No. Here's the thing: people call it bad texting, or
no, he just chooses. He chooses.
People
that's
say,
worse.
I know
because that's borderline disrespectful.
No, people say I'm a bad texter, but I call it unapologetically unavailable, bro. And it's like, here's the thing: but
are you unavailable? Or you just don't care enough to respond to certain texts?
It's actually unavailable.
No, I have different things. No offense, like. I got kids running around. I got Shawn, my wife, and it's like there's a hierarchy of things that I'm concerned with.
So I'm low on the algorithm based on the lot.
No, you texted me yesterday. You said, "Hey, what's going on?" I take care of things, but if it's like if you go to the soccer game, I'm not gonna respond. Like, it's like not important, or like, hey, did you see that? Not important.
Should Shawn and I leave?
Anyway, no, this is good.
We good.
I am curious though, because the story goes both ways. You mentioned you were sick in 2000 for the 2012 Olympics. Is that you did write a book called Blueprint, which we can link information for down below. You share a lot of this, but your story is in and of itself a wild ride. Could you share some of that?
Yeah, I feel like roller coaster is the best metaphor of my career. So I made the team. I can relate to your story of being young. Like I made my first team at just turned 15. Like made this huge improvement leading up to 2004, not expecting to make the Olympics. And suddenly it was like, I won 2 events at trials. Now I'm going to the Olympics. My coach isn't there. Like it just was a crazy experience. Ended up being top 8, getting 7th, but still the media kind of coming after me for not medaling. Picked myself back up, had like a really amazing 4 years leading up to 08, and just kind of like raised the bar on myself again. So now it wasn't just like, okay, like, you know, win your first Olympic medal, win some gold medals. It was like, oh, I'm breaking world records and I win at 5 events at trials. I signed this long Speedo contract and all the parallels are perfectly aligning with Michael Phelps. Like every single thing, like training in Baltimore, Speedo contract, young Olympian, which super big honor, but not like I didn't have 5 world records. I didn't have that type of accolade.
But you did have world records.
I'd 1.
Yeah.
Not 5.
I mean, that's something.
No, for sure. But I'm saying, like, I always was like, how are people would start saying female Phelps, and I was always like, thank you, but that's setting me like he's going for 8 gold medals, like that is whole thing in 08. And so, for me, like thinking about that, it was like, okay, so if I do anything less than that, or even like greatly less than that, it's a fail. And so, I win 5 events at trials in 08. It's going great. Stars are aligning. Go to the games and have actually which I can now reflect back on as like a really successful meet for me. Like right off my best time, which was the world record in the 400 IM. It just happened to be that 2 girls were better that day, and I won my first Olympic medal with the bronze. Never forget like walking through the maze and the media, and every single no one was like, "Great job, first Olympic medal." Everyone was like, "What happened? Like, are you okay?" Like, all right, brush it off. Day 1 of 9. Ended up winning my first international in the 400 free. Get touched out by 7/100ths of a second for gold, so I get silver.
7/100ths.
7/100ths.
0.07. Wow.
Yeah. So that was a stinger. End up breaking the American record, which was mine in the 200 free. Get 4th. 3 other girls were better that day. Our relay breaks the world record in the 4x2. I anchor in the fastest time but American. The Aussies and Chinese also break the world record, and we get bronze. So it's just like I was having great swims. It's just on that particular day, I wasn't at that moment the best in the world. And so I ended with 3 medals, American record. But it was just like everyone, I left those games like just sad. Like when we saw each other, like I was so sad at those closing ceremonies. Like I was just like, I failed. Like I failed. This was my moment. I screwed up. And I always talk about like I wish I had the maturity and perspective that after those games to like take a second, not go right back into a training and like deal with it, like deal with all of the baggage that came from that. And I didn't. I just like went right back into it. So 08 or after the Olympics to 12 was like a train wreck. I just like couldn't find my rhythm.
You're still young. You're how old now?
At that point I'm 19.
Yeah.
So couldn't find my rhythm, moved to California, like switched coach. It was just had no self-esteem, just felt so much like I failed everybody. Hit trials in 12, got sick at the trials, so didn't make the team. And then was like, I'm done. Like, I must be a masochist. Like, why? Like, I'm not enjoying this. That's when we met. It's like the silver lining of like why I didn't make that team. And then kind of like slowly but surely, like through the 1.5, 2 years off, I was like, man, like, I don't know if I like fully am done. Like, I would love to be in Olympic Games and just stand and look around and be like, wow, this is so cool. You know, like people always like, you're an Olympian. Was the Olympics so amazing? And I'm always like, it was stressful. Yeah. You know, I'm never like,
I don't remember.
It was so fun. You know, I wanted that moment. So going into, so I decided to make a comeback basically in 2014. And he was so supportive. Like he didn't rush me. He was just like, I just feel like how you talk, like there's like unfinished business. And it was going so well. Like I was enjoying the process. I felt like I had this awesome relationship with my coach. Where it was that partnership. And then a year out from, no, 1.5 out, went to this national championships, which is like the qualifier for world championships, which is the kind of the precursor to the Olympics. Sorry, I'm not getting emotional. I just was sick last week. And had this like weird pain in my rib. And long story short, ended up having a pulmonary embolism in my right lung, which is, for those who don't know, because I didn't, is a blood clot. So I had 2 blood clots in my right lung. which
is very, very dangerous.
Life-threatening.
Like 100,000 people.
Yes.
Yeah, every 6 minutes.
1 in 3 people.
Yeah, every 6 minutes someone dies from a blood clot.
Wow.
And so ended up being like, okay, the whole point of this is I'm trying to make a comeback to enjoy this. And I was just like struggling breathing every day. And basically the doctors were like, yeah, you can try this, but like, you know, having reduced lung capacity is kind of an issue when you are trying to make an Olympic team and be the top 0.0001%. And so ultimately I ended up retiring in 2015. And I was just like, I was the worst version of I was depressed.
It was sad too, because like, one, I was excited to kind of like see go through the process. I hadn't been to a games with her and just like, you know, just experience it. That would have been so fun. And
Anderson
also,
on my cap instead of Hoff.
Yeah,
that was
and
the
then
goal.
Well, then also like before she had the pulmonary embolism, up until that point, people knew she was kind of making a comeback, but like she was like going fast, and it was like going to be like her coming out party. Like after this meet, people are going to realize like, oh, she's like back, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, and I felt so bad. Like we weren't even engaged yet. And I had not a spasm, but like the blood clot, I don't know if it hit on a nerve. It was so painful. I couldn't take in air, so I passed out.
Like face down in our hotel room, like catch her.
And my coach at the time was just like, Todd, like, what do you think? Like he was like having to make like
I was just her boyfriend. I wasn't like, I don't know. Like, cause you call an ambulance and you know, you're not going to be able to compete. Like, people don't think of that, but you know how it is at that level, like calling an ambulance, then you're not going to be able to compete that day. And like, which doesn't seem that important, but like when you put everything. Your life into something, it was heavy for sure. I mean, I feel like we got to know each other real fast in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it was tough.
Yeah.
Felt so bad for you.
My immune system always gets depleted this time of year with cold and flu season and amped up travel plans. If you're a longtime listener here, you probably know we've been drinking AG1 for almost 4 years now. Wild. When I started drinking AG1 daily, I felt like my immune system was finally getting the support it needed, and that's because AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs like gut optimization, stress management, and immune support. Since 2010, AG1 has led the future of foundational nutrition, continuously refining their formula to create a smarter, better way to elevate your baseline health. We really trust this company and have loved incorporating one scoop into our daily lives.
A lot of our friends have started drinking AG1, and they always tell us how much more energetic they feel and how they're finally getting the nutrients their bodies crave. It's wild how one drink a day, just one drink a day, can change your overall mood. Plus, since it supports your immune system, there's really no better time to start drinking it than right now. Every scoop of AG1 includes vitamin C and zinc to help support your immune health and completely replaces taking a multivitamin. It is such an easy way to make sure you're getting the vitamins your body needs this season.
AG1 is the supplement we trust to provide the support our bodies need daily, and that's why they've been a partner for so long. If you want to take ownership over your health, it starts with AG1.
Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase.
Go to drinkag1.com/couplethings. That's
drinkag1.com/couplethings. Check it out.
I feel like so much of your guys' story is something we talk about a lot, which is what we bonded over pretty much. Trauma. Is this identity crisis that all athletes go through. A lot of athletes fail to ever talk about it because they don't want to like recognize it. But I mean, I went through a horrible depression when I retired. I tried to make a comeback for 2012, ended up retiring, lost everything, every ounce of who I was. Didn't know how to function as a human being.
Yeah.
And that's when I met Andrew, which is funny. I feel like we have very similar stories.
Yeah.
And I even tried to hide it from him, but you guys went through it together. And to a certain extent, like, you got to see her almost try to come back from it. Like, she started regaining confidence.
Yeah.
Back in her sport, though. Not as an individual, as a swimmer again.
Yeah.
Which is my whole reason why I went back into my sport. I lost who I was, and the only time I knew who I was when I was a gymnast.
Yep.
And I feel like to a certain extent, being both professional athletes, it makes sense. Like, you can support it, you get excited for it, because that's how you define yourselves.
Yeah.
When you finally retire, you get healthy, You guys have moved past football. You've moved past swimming. How do you build a life together without either?
I'm training for fall camp right now.
I've got a great therapist for you.
I mean, I feel like it's taken us so long. I mean, I feel like we kept, it was almost like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Mm-hmm.
Like we moved to Chicago, we moved to New York, we moved to Michigan. And I always felt like, I don't know how you guys feel about this. It's like, I feel like right now is the first time ever that like we're both like in a good spot. Mm-hmm. Because throughout, we've married 8 years, as of 2 days ago, been together 10 years.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Nice.
And I think it was always like, okay, like he was doing good and I was in crisis. And then like when I was doing good, you were in crisis. And I remember we even said like, oh my God, can we get on the same page? Like what is happening? And I actually always felt like my crises happened more often, which always gave me a lot of guilt. But I think for us as a couple, it was just the underlying foundation of we are here for each other no matter what. We're going to grow together. We're going to take risks together. If someone wants to go out and quit I quit my job and was like, I'm going to go write this book. He was like, do it. It was never like, I think on both sides, it was never like, like selfishly, like, don't do that because I want to stay in this city. It's like, if we want to move to New York and we need to, do it. That was always how we have operated.
It was wild. I feel like even like from the point where I was released and we were like kind of going to move in together, even though we were like a month in, it felt like from that point forward, no matter what happens, like we're in it together. Like it didn't ever feel like it was we were dating. It was like we're going to get through and put any task at hand. It might be horrible, but it never felt like that was ever a question.
No.
Like honestly, from the get-go, which we've done a lot of scary stuff, I would say, that, moving and different risks. But like when you have that, when you always have someone to fall back on and a support system and like a consistent person in your life, I mean, there's very few things more powerful than that. And it allows you to take risks. And like, it for me at least, just knowing, I always had her, like there's so many things that I wouldn't have done if that wasn't the case. I mean, I probably would have lived in Michigan, never have done all the stuff that we've done. So I'm from a small town. I'd probably be back in my small town, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but super grateful for the confidence it gives you to kind of like go after things. And Katie's a go-getter. Like she puts her head down and, just goes for whatever. So like sometimes I need that push. And so we're good yin and yang, I would say.
Sometimes I need to like, all right, you had a 10. This is really a 3. I got it. Like, I feel like we are like, I'm like urgency, aggression.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, like stay steady, stay calm. He's like the rock of the relationship.
I have another question. Sorry. I feel like I'm taking over. The other thing I'm curious about with you two, which we've had to learn firsthand, when I was completely retired when we started dating, and then watching him go through his career. And now we do like the whole yin and yang thing with like businesses and like whatever it is. How do you guys tame the elite mindsets that you are capable of pushing each other and supporting each other at the same time? Because there were times within the NFL, I was like, what are you doing? I can tell you're not giving it your all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to train harder. But in the back of my mind, I was like,
I want to hear about this.
No, first of all, little does Shawn know, I've never had this like intensity that she taps into, and I feel like you both have this as well.
Oh no, Katie's on a different level than me.
Intense.
Sure. Oh,
so
bro.
I'm like 80%. Like I got a diet plan. I'm gonna do it 80%, and I'm good with that, dude. I'll do it 80% for the rest of my life.
I'm dying.
Shawn is like, I will do it more intense than anyone's ever done this, and adhere to it to a T.
Yeah.
But then it's like it has this interesting effect where I have.
That's why there's Olympians, and that's why there's guys who got released. You know what I'm saying?
Shawn is like, you're not giving your all. I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's just not as good as yours.
No, it's just different because I think you are just like you guys are. We're all capable of tapping into an extreme mindset. The fact that you guys even went for the NFL and we're in the NFL means you have an extreme mindset.
Yeah.
And which like you can't downplay. The NFL is the Olympics. it is the NFL. But there's a really hard dynamic that we've had to work on of trying to figure out when to tap into it as a teammate and a coach and a supporter, and also realize, oh, I'm also your spouse, and I need to make sure that this isn't like an identity crisis, and I need to like be holding your hand, and we need to talk through this.
Yeah.
Which would be hard coming from both of your backgrounds, starting new businesses, going for comebacks. How did you guys figure out that dynamic? Or are you still working on it? Because we are.
Well, I'd say,
ongoing, but
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that from a sport perspective, like Katie, I've been around a lot of elite athletes. I've never witnessed anything close to the level of dedication, and not dedication, the willingness to take yourself to a place of like Katie would die to accomplish goals in the pool. It was crazy to witness, honestly. Literally almost did. Was trying to get it back in the pool.
Yeah.
And so and obviously I'm her husband, but I'm very fair. And when things are not fair, I'm not very honestly fair. I'm the least biased spouse out there, I swear. And I've never witnessed anything.
Because you'll call me on it when I'm not.
Yeah. So as far as like sport, I didn't have to say a thing. Like when I actually trained her in strength conditioning side at the end, and I mean, I had no question she would do exactly what was asked.
Yeah.
So that wasn't hard. I think the hardest thing was just honestly keeping perspective outside of it and getting you to do things just to enjoy yourself. So that wasn't too hard. But
now
I think honestly too, it's kind of good when we started dating, because for football, like you don't really know enough to like even get involved, you know? So
yeah, you mean like, I don't feel like I feel like for me, I've grown, like you do operate differently. Like think about like the way that like we like in terms of like I'm very task oriented. Like check. Sorry. check. Like I want to do it right away. And so, we have our business together. And so he is like creative, does it on a different schedule. And so that is definitely, I would say, an area of conflict that we've had to work through, where it's like trust that, okay, he's going to get it done. He's going to do it at a high level. Trust in that. He's not going to do it your way, but that doesn't mean it's better or worse, And so I think that's been, what do you say?
I think our biggest thing is like coaching each other or giving each other confidence. Like I think that's what we do best. I think both of us are like driven enough where we're going to go after it, but we sometimes will have imposter syndrome or self-doubt and reassuring people. Like even like what Katie just said about her swimming career, she's like, oh, like I wasn't at Michael Phelps' level. But when the time that she's talking about that, she won USOC Sportswoman of the Year 2 times. Yeah. Which is the best female athlete of any sport. Yes. Which is at the level of that. So like even to now, like she doesn't fully give herself credit then or in business and beyond. So I think reassuring each other actually is probably what we do the most of.
I also feel like because we're so, I don't say hard on each other, but we're so honest of like, yeah, babe, like that was rough. Or like, like we're really honest so that the times when he does reassure me or vice versa, I know it's 100% the truth and he's not just trying to gas me up. Like I've heard the bad. And then when you say like, wow, that was really good, you crushed that. I'm like, okay, like he really means that, So
I got to say, Katie, known Todd for whatever it is, 7 months. 6, whatever we said, and every time he talks about you, it's really tender, loving, and like supportive. And it's not always the case. It's not always how husbands talk about wives. That's not always how I talk about my wife, and it's been inspirational for me. So I appreciate that. Todd.
We've sat in this room with a lot of couples, and one of Andrew and I's like love languages is like trash talking each other, in a loving way. Yeah, but it is really cool to see how you talk about Katie. It's not something I've actually seen in this room.
It's rare.
Yeah, it's really special.
What do you guys attribute?
It's cute. It's cute.
So you say you're on the same page, maybe for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Why?
Man, why? I feel like.
I think.
You go ahead.
I think we both took leaps at the same time. I mean, you wrote your book. I stopped doing what I was doing with Equinox and, started different things. And I think it just kind of, I don't think it was intentional, but I think we kind of both sorted out what we wanted to do. And like you talked about, like sorted out that kind of, not identity, but just, what brought us joy. and it just aligned like at the same time.
I also think because we've moved around so much, like we've kind of tried so many different things that we both came to a point of like, all right, here are our 8 priorities, values, where we want to live, what we want to see in our life, what we prioritize. I mean, moving to Nashville was a big piece of that. Like, we remember sitting at a table in a coffee shop. We were going to move to Austin, and you were like, I have a bad gut feeling. And I'm like, you're right. I kind of do too. I don't feel like it's going to incorporate everything we need. Mm-hmm. And obviously, like, so happy that we made the pivot and moved to Nashville. But yeah, I think we just kind of got just like it's weird. I actually haven't ever thought of it like this, but we met and our paths were like very at a similar point where we were just kind of at a low point. And I feel like we're now have timed it up that we're both, and we have our stuff and like our challenges, but like we're both at a point where we're like, okay, like we're in a really great spot together and then individually, which is why I think the first time like we've talked about this, like we want to have a family, we want to have kids, and like it's the first time we felt like, okay, like I think we're in a good spot for that, which is a really cool thing to say.
The meeting you guys, I mean, as far as the move goes and just like, having a support group and friend group, like super impactful. So
you guys have such a
very
amazing
grateful
community here.
Yeah.
Thank you. We worked really hard for it.
I just wish I would see Todd more,
I wish
you're gonna open up that.
I would wish you would text him back more.
I'm curious.
We'll have to figure this out.
You did that.
I want to revisit the sauna ratio of the visits since you guys got here, so we can come back to that.
You said 8 things. You don't have to list them all, but what were some of these things that you contributed to you moving or that you were looking for?
I think it sounds kind of crazy, like just energy of the city, energy of the people in the city. I think it's very apparent of the people that are here that they're all driving towards more. Like no one here is ever just settling, right? And I think that's how we feel of like, okay, you can have it all. You can have a family, you can have an amazing relationship, but you can also, start a business and go after that. And I think we hadn't really felt that anywhere we've lived, and part of it might just be us and what we're putting out. I think just space, like we had thought about moving back to New York, but we work from home, having our own offices and having a place, a home where
having literally your own spa.
Literally our own
your own spa
retreat. Yes. But just feeling like we used to want to travel all the time, and now we're like, can't wait to get back home and just be in our kind of sanctuary. And
I think there's like values down here. Like people treat each other pretty well. Everyone's pretty friendly.
Everyone's so kind.
Yeah, that's
if you're listening, don't move here.
Yeah. There's pros and cons of every city, but this seemed to be kind of like in the middle with all the pros and what we're looking for.
Yeah.
You said in 2012 that it wasn't okay. Like after that, how do you view it now?
Now I think the 16 is the more one that stings. I think 12, I was already in a bad place, like mentally, my passion for the sport. And so I actually view 12 as just a blessing because I got to, like, if I had made the team and gone off, gone off to London, I don't think I would have not gone and visited you. You would have gone off to camp. Like, I don't know if we would have connected. Maybe we would have, but I view it as like, well, I got an awesome husband out of it. Like, I'll trade that all day long.
You'll take a husband over a gold medal?
Yeah. This one.
It is like, that's what I love about getting old. That's what I love about getting older is like
perspective.
Yeah. And like the things that you were bummed about, you get a different take on it. Like, oh, wow, might not have met Todd. If Shawn was competing in 2012, we wouldn't have met.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest blessing of your life for sure.
The biggest blessing ever, babe.
For sure.
I was going to say, it's funny because we've never even talked about the Olympics together ever, which is funny. We have very similar stories.
It's actually now like hearing you say like, oh, 2012, like our proposal story, like everything.
There's a lot of alignment.
It's weird.
But in 2012, I was trying to make a comeback. Clinical depression, horrible.
Yeah.
Lost my identity, found it again. Kind of got this like FU mentality in gymnastics. Just took off. I was like stagnant for a while and took off the year before, and I was like on the route. Loved it, had figured out my rhythm, had figured out everything, and just didn't have the support from our federation in horrible ways.
Yes.
And I was just like, peace out.
Yeah.
Went to the Olympics and got to go see a USA cycling event because I just went to watch.
Yeah.
And met his older brother who set us up on a blind date there. And
it's so crazy.
Like, had I been competing, there's no chance.
No.
But
blind date.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much.
I started my first social media account because of her.
Really?
Which was what?
He DM'd
Twitter.
me.
No MySpace?
No.
I
I was
know,
after
Top 8,
MySpace.
Twitter.
I was MySpace. Twitter and Facebook.
Twitter was big when I first met you, remember?
Yeah, because he was like
In 2012.
Yeah.
That's
big.
yeah.
Popping
It
back
was like
then.
the big thing.
That was
The self-image thing is so interesting as an athlete, like, because you succeeded by all measures.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
You're
And
Katie Hoff. Come on. No, I'm sorry.
it's
That was a
just-
slap to the face.
It's like what are you benchmarking against? Though?
Katie Anderson.
Is the
I didn't even want her to change her name. I didn't care.
Yeah.
He really didn't. He was like, change if you want. I'm like,
When
no.
people
like,
know you as Katie Hoff, so like, I mean, it really doesn't matter to me at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. He didn't, but I was like, I like Anderson. Anderson. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's something I've recently discovered. It's like, I mean, everyone talks about it, right? It's like there's documentaries, like every single athlete talks about it. And it's like, where is that coming from? Where is it sourced? And I mean, I feel like it, like for me, it was just this addiction to the affirmation, to people saying, like, it was, I don't ever, yes, I swam for myself, but like, I mean, starting at like 8 or 9 years old, it was like, oh my gosh, you won that race. And people are like overwhelming you with good job. That's amazing. And like, so the intertwining just becomes so knotted up and tangled because you're 8 or 9 years old. Like, how can you be like, oh, okay, people are saying great job to me and liking me just because I'm me and like the, winning a race is just a cherry on top. It becomes, oh no, that's why people like me. So I need to keep doing that and I need to keep, upping the ante on myself. No longer is breaking a state record. I've done that. So like in order to get people to still keep liking me, I need to like go and like get a national age group record. Like you just keep raising the bar. And I think that's why, after, 04, I felt that way. And then after 04, it was similar to you say, like an FU attitude. It was like, no, I'm going to prove to everyone that I'm here to stay. This wasn't luck. Like, I came back and I just trained like a savage, like for 4 years. And I was like on this redemption revenge tour, which is not the reason you should be doing things, but it fuels it for a short time. But I don't know how, I thought about it a lot. Like, how do you prevent that? Because part of that obsession is also why athletes are the best in the world. Like, it's very, very, like, I know a few people have done it, but it's very difficult to be like, oh, I'm going to have balance while I'm trying to be the best in the world. Like, it doesn't really work. No. So I think the awareness piece is key. Like, I didn't really have like a coach that was like, okay, like, but like, you're still great. Like, even if you don't break this world record, it was no, like, break the world record. All right, go warm down, next event. There wasn't that appreciation. And so it just became untangleable, I felt like.
Well, I'm thankful for you, Katie.
Thankful for you.
Yeah. Do you deal with I've thought about this with my own life. It's like, okay, because that amount of identity tying to performance does push you to like a further place, maybe out of like fear. But then when that ends, it's like, so does your identity or self-confidence. Yeah. I don't know what the balance is, but anyway.
Yeah, I think self-confidence is always something I have a hard time with, which is funny because people always think the opposite. Like,
people are like, Todd's not short on confidence, and I'm like, he's pretty good at faking it when he doesn't have it.
I feel like even from the beginning, like, I never had any scholarship offers. I'm always like thrust in these situations that I'm not quite ready for, and like every step of the way it's been like that. So there's always this like, oh, I lucked into it, or like I'm sneaking by type of situation. So I always feel like that, but it's not necessarily true.
Well, and he always says that. I'm always like, okay, so you just got like lucky situations like 8 times. Like, no, like you create that, like you bring that, you work your butt off. Like, who goes from a walk-on to an NFL player? Nobody, so back at you with.
I read the quote this morning. I read it. It was such a good quote.
Oh,
it was
about imposter syndrome.
It was like imposter syndrome goes away when you wholeheartedly believe in your end story, which is true. So in some sense, it's just like, where I want to go, what I want to do. There's the self-doubt that's how it's going to end up. But I think the more and more you start to believe in that and you get the momentum, like that kind of goes away. But I think a lot of people don't often define or think about what that end story looks like or even know what they want. And they just kind of, or at least I did that, kind of drift through, you don't have an identity because you don't really have an idea of what would make you happy or what's fulfilling and what you want in life. So you're never going to have an identity because there's no path to that. There's not even a finish. It's just this wandering, looking for probably things like affirmation and, you play like football, for example. You run out in front of 100,000 people. I mean, that's a feeling that you kind of like. It's amazing and it's a world-class an experience. Not many people get to experience, but I think sometimes people try to chase that type of like high and that feeling, and you have to like reroute and find that in different ways.
That's interesting. I think you mentioned when you and Katie met, there's no question you were in it together. And then like that, when you have an vision that you fully believe in, I think that's such a powerful concept that I've been intrigued by the past couple months in relationships and business. It's like, it's the ability to say no to all the other things and yes to the one thing that you do want increases your odds of that working out, like the odds of success drastically, because you're like burning the boats, going all in on this, and so I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make that work, as opposed to always peeking over your shoulder and looking at other options like, oh, maybe that's a better one. Jump ship, you have to restart. It's like almost compounding. People talk about compounding interest with finances. It applies to other areas of life, relationships. It's like you stick to doing one thing long enough, it's going to be successful. Like it's going to work out. It's going to grow in whatever sense of that word. But
I think even in business, people don't even have like they don't even think about what's the end goal that you want.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people are like, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to raise money. I'm going to grow it and make $100 million. Well, it's like, well, why do you want to sell it for that amount? Like, why do you need? Like, what would make you happy? How much do you need? Do you need to sell it? Do you want to sell it? Do you enjoy what you're doing? Like, I think people it's just like more and more, go bigger, bigger, bigger. But really, like, have you ever thought about where you want to end up?
I also think that's like you have that such a good skill set. I always say like he has, like, I feel like I'm like a like grind it, put my head down. Like he has such like CEO vibes of like being able to see this big picture and zoom out and see a 30,000 foot view. Like that is not my strength. And I always lean on him for that. It's like, you're able to like zoom out and be like, okay, like let's look ahead. Like, let's see like, why we're doing this and like what goes into it. And like, you're able to, even with the podcast, like the podcast now, like you're able to do that. And I'm not. And so I feel like that's a huge skill set that you almost take for granted, that like everyone kind of has that, but it's a very specific skill that I think you've grown, but I think it's innately in you.
Maybe. What are you guys' goals now?
Well, we would like to start a family ASAP. So that's one. I would say.
Any tips
I'm
on
excited.
that?
I can't wait.
Any tips?
Any tips?
Just twice
Just
a
a
day,
volume
baby.
game.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, it works.
Ovulation tests.
Oh yeah, I have temperature. I got the whole.
There
I mean,
you
month
go.
one I was like casual about it, and then I was like, order this, order that.
Yeah.
I'm in this, like aggressive.
I'm getting all these boxes showing up, and I'm like, I have no idea.
He's like, what are these strips that just I'm like ovulation sticks? Duh.
Also, reduce your caffeine, boys.
oh,
That's huge. That's huge.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna go hide all of the caffeine.
Go hide all
I
of
believe
it.
in you.
You gotta have energy too, though. I think
It's endurance.
Moderation.
saying it 2 times.
You
Like,
got
I mean,
recovery.
I think it's making me tired thinking about it. So
I'm so excited to listen to this in like 2 years when they have a baby.
I know.
And
I will say this is just forecasting because I believe you guys are going to be phenomenal parents. But I think our stories are very similar in this identity, not issue, but just like journey of trying to figure it out. Kids changed the game for us.
Really?
We were paralyzed, terrified of having children. I had never babysat before. We had never changed a diaper before.
Yeah. It's definitely scary. I'm not saying I'm not
scary.
scared.
Yeah, and it changes everything. But it changed everything for us. It puts so much into perspective that you never realize as an athlete. And it's just the coolest part of life.
Yeah. We're excited. I mean, huge step. Like, you're not mad I share this, but like at Missy and Hayes, Kate's birthday party, like Kate is obsessed with him. Like even last night, like she was like, pick me up. And he was just like, it didn't freak me out that I was holding a baby.
I'm always like holding him like I'm going to break this thing.
Same. The first few times Andrew held like our friends' babies, but before we had babies, he was like holding them like this. And I was like, it's okay. You're not going to hurt them.
They're resilient little buggers.
They are.
Well,
especially
he's like the black guy from Avengers. It's just like running through everything.
Yeah.
It's been cool to see you guys and then a lot of people, down here in the friend group, like doing really cool stuff, all different avenues of life, but then having like amazing balance because I think that's pretty rare. A lot of times, like, they're very career oriented or, I don't know. I just think there's like, it's cool to see such a spectrum of different things people are doing, but that balance and like the, values are so consistent, especially in your guys' circles.
Even
so
the
that's
community,
been inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Like the fact that you got, like, I know for a fact that I am covered. Like any possible question I have with pregnancy or, right when the baby, like I feel like I'm good. I'm good to go. So
well, even from a guy's perspective, it's rare to have a group of guys that you can like talk about being a dad and like feel comfortable about it. Like that's not normal. Like I feel for most guys, I feel like moving here, like from a wanting to start a family perspective, has been super inspirational.
I will say that was one of our biggest motivations in starting the game nights, like building this community, was we had so many. We were one of the first ones to have kids in our group, and we had so many people telling us that like our social life was over, our careers were done, we're not like all of these things.
I hate that.
We weren't going to travel, and we just kind of made it a point. As soon as we had kids, we were like, nothing. We don't have to change anything. We had a friend. I actually remember who it was. Who is the one that was sitting there with us, waiting to get the call from the Kansas City Chiefs. She's the one who said, "Your life is whatever you want to make it with kids." Like,
I love that.
And
shout out Amy.
Shout out Amy. Yeah.
Yeah. It actually sharpens your focus.
It does.
And says, this is what I want most. And then so it's like we had 6 different projects we were trying to work on when we had kids. And it was like, then you try to, the tough part with transitioning into being a parent is like you try to maintain all the things you were doing before for a little bit while also adding this massive responsibility. And then at some point you're like, can't do it anymore. You prune the activities a little bit. It becomes
very apparent what you truly are passionate about. So,
which is it's cool. But
honestly, one of my biggest fears is lack of sleep.
Oh yeah, he's like, I feel like you have to surrender to the fact that
we got you.
You won't sleep as much.
Have your teeth always been this white?
They're fake.
Because of wrestling.
Broke them in wrestling in high school, and then they just fixed it, and then I had to.
Do you have to brush them?
Yes. What do you mean I have to brush them?
I don't know how fake teeth work. What?
I mean, your mouth is still gross. If you
would be so
pop them out. Like dentures?
No, they're
permanent.
They're in there. They're like if you
broke. Have you just been staring at them?
Touch them?
Like,
yeah.
Oh my, Andrew Dean.
It's like feels like a normal tooth.
That's what Clint did for your tooth.
It's like if you
They're amazingly white.
Literally, you're a chip.
Well, when you have to get them all done, then you can.
Because it would have been like molten. It would have been bad. They would like just do the whole thing.
But exactly what Clint does for your chip, you just do that for like.
They went a little on the white side, but
no, I disagree.
No.
I think it makes you
makes you look tanner. Get the bottom done. Oh, I am pretty tan. I'm a little sunburnt. That run the other day.
What do you think is more effective to like make your teeth look whiter, whitening your teeth or just getting a tan?
What that is a bombshell question. Probably whitening your teeth. I think. You brought up teeth like probably 4 times. No. In general. So I'm just curious. Like, are you going through are you thinking about doing teeth whitening or like what's going on?
No. Have I talked about teeth a lot?
I don't know.
No, not just this time. I'm saying like in the past.
I just appreciate a nice smile. Yeah. Honestly, I think it might be the first feature that I look at in someone. It's like, do they smile a lot?
Yeah.
Done.
Also, feature. I'm going to go full circle real quick and share something with you. The first month we were dating, I think it was the first week we were dating. This is just something about Andrew, which you've already learned firsthand. He told me, and we were long distance, so I would fly out to Nashville, I'd see him, and then I'd go back home because I was living in Des Moines. He said, I don't text. I don't text. He said, I feel like texting is this like super, or like superficial level of conversation. He's like, I would rather stockpile all these in-depth conversations that we'll have face-to-face. And literally from the first week, because I was a texter.
Were you like, oh my God?
Once I got past the trust issue of it, of like, why aren't you wanting to communicate with me when I'm living 1,000 miles away, whatever.
That's what Todd was going through yesterday, I think.
Yeah. But it is interesting.
You can walk me through that.
I'll walk you through it.
It
only took me 10 years.
Yeah. I only have nine years and 4 months.
But I say that because like, what is interesting is every time we ever got back together, and you'll learn this firsthand, he will have his list. He's like, we need to talk through all of these things.
It's like an agenda.
For sure.
See, the problem is when on the list is like, what time am I coming over today? You can't really bank that for 4 days later and you talk on the phone. So.
See, we're still working through that.
Got it.
Yeah.
We could cut all that. But you mentioned you mentioned sleep.
I want that in there.
We gotta let them go.
No, we're not. We have to talk about what they're freaking doing because they both have massive things. That they're going through. Because you mentioned sleep, and I love your videos that you create. It's super crispy. Teeth look great.
The lighting is on point.
And it's all about health. And now you're pretty deep into the sleep game. Tell us how.
Yeah, I mean, so I got to meet with Dr. Jennifer Martin from UCLA probably, 7 or 8 years ago and spend like a few days with her. She's one of the top sleep psychologists in the world. And I think that's like why I'm super passionate about the stuff we're doing now is because the psychology side of sleep is way more important than the physiology and the data, right? So like your mindset. But that like really sparked my interest, and then I started speaking on it, and I spoke quite a bit, teams and companies in New York and all this stuff, and just seeing what like massive impact changing someone's sleep has, like as far as like changing one behavior, like when you talk to somebody or they're using different products and like you're getting messages about how life changing it is, it's like it's super fulfilling. So started doing that, and then I never did any content, any video on it. I mean, going back to like the self-confidence thing, I can make excuses, but it's hard to put a camera up and just talk about educational topics. And started doing it, in November, and it's really went well and taken off, and get a lot of great feedback from people when they implement it. So like that kind of drives me to keep doing it. But I think sleep is like if somebody isn't sleeping well, and then they can change that aspect of their life, like every bucket in their life gets better, which is rare. There's not many silver bullets like that. And that's why I think I just hone in on it, because the impact it has.
Do you want me to mention the name of your company, or
go ahead?
In my mind, I'm like, that's great, but like,
take us to the next step. Dream Recovery.
Dream Recovery, yeah. So all holistic sleep products. I'm really excited. We're coming out pink mouth tape next month.
For that.
So we're donating 10% of profits to breast cancer awareness, and I honestly think with like sleep and stuff, the female demographic especially, it's kind of been neglected a bit from like a snoring and just breathing issues and support on that end, because it's more like a luxury thing, I would say, on that side. And a lot of guys struggle more with snoring, which is an easier symptom to pinpoint. But like, there's a lot of females that mouth breathe, and they use the mouth tape, and then they feel significantly better. And just because you don't snore doesn't mean you're not breathing through your mouth. And nasal breathing is kind of the king for solid sound sleep. So it's cool. Like the pink, I think, will help kind of spread the awareness on that side of things.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp.
This holiday season, we've decided we're going to do something a little different this year and really focus on giving more experiences instead of things.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot about this, and we love giving gifts to family and friends for the holidays, but now that a lot of our friends have kids, we're trying to encourage people to do something memorable together.
Whether or not your family gives gifts during the holiday season, you get to define how you give to yourself. And there's no better time than the holidays to do that. Whether that means going easier on yourself during the stressful moments, starting therapy, treating yourself to a relaxing day, or even finding a babysitter for an hour, remember that you deserve love this holiday season.
I couldn't agree more, babe. It's important to check in with yourself, and therapy is a great way to do that.
Therapy has taught me so much personally. I've learned how to work through feelings of overwhelm, set boundaries, and I always leave feeling empowered to be the best version of me.
BetterHelp is a great option if you're thinking about trying therapy. It's all online, so it's really flexible and suited to fit your schedule. All you do is fill out a quick questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can also switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
In the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp.
Visit BetterHelp.com/EastFam today to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/EastFam. Let's get back to it. I am 100% bought in because he slept
She literally.
the other night with mouth tape on the whole night on his back and never snored. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
So now she'll hit me at like midnight.
Put it on.
She's like, put some mouth tape on.
Yeah.
Literally.
Stop
Do
snoring.
you feel a difference like when you wake up?
You know what the most interesting? So, first of all, for those listening, do yourself a favor. Go look up Cliff Notes version of the book Breathe. You'll learn about nose breathing and the importance of it.
James Nestor.
And then try out, go to Dream Recovery and check out mouth tape. Pretty reasonable, approachable price to experiment with.
That was a goal.
And there's some other sleep products on there too. But I was intimidated to try sleep tape for the first time because it's like, what a wild, you're covering up one of your inhale, exhale outlets, right? But the biggest thing that I think I get from it is not having, and I didn't know until I did it, but not having this feeling of disgusting germs in my mouth. Like I'm not a germ guy, but my mouth, I will get like canker sores, right? Which I think maybe is related.
Definitely.
And so I think having that orifice, is that a weird word?
That's
a great word.
It is, but it can be weird.
It can be. Yeah. Having that tape did like less bacteria.
Yeah. So like
when you think about that.
Well, when you're when your pH of your mouth, right? So 7 is basically like neutral, like water-ish. When the pH of your mouth is under like 5.5, it starts to like deteriorate. Like it creates overgrowth of bacteria and your teeth break down. It's like you bad breath and like basically the microbiome of your mouth is going a bad direction. And when you mouth breathe all night, they've measured it at like 3.4. Your pH drops way down. So when you're mouth breathing,
morning kisses.
It's not just like dry mouth. It's like, you're like basically creating an environment that for bad mouth health.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. But the one thing with the mouth tape though, like people use like all sorts of crazy tapes and like that was the one, like it's on your face for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So you need to know like what's on it and in it and the adhesive, like that, the sketchy part.
If it's a pretty natural transition though, like you tape that off and then your body automatically just knows and it's nice. But
yeah, it's just getting people to try it.
I mean, it's my husband's company and it took me like 30 days. Like I tried once and I'm like, I have so much anxiety around this.
We were launching it at the same time she was trying it for the first time. And I've been doing it for a long time because it is a little scary.
Yeah.
I recommend people to, put it on, watch TV for 30 minutes and just, you'll start to realize like, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm. But now I don't know how you feel about it, but like I forget when I wake up in the morning, I forget that it's on. And I'm like, oh, I literally do. And I go to say something to him and I'm like, oh, I still have mouth tape on.
It's actually really nice too, because when I'm ready to go to bed, I'll just put the mouth tape on and then there's no more talking.
Yeah, if you're in an argument, just go to bed and
he's actually done that. We're like in the middle of like talking, and he's like, I'm like, don't you dare put that mouth tape on. He puts it on. No.
Yeah, it's tough when you need to say something afterwards.
We all like text each other.
Yeah.
We have to say something.
But we are coming out with like earplugs, nose strips, performance pillowcases, a whole bunch of stuff next month. So
sick. We'll link it down.
We'll give you the whole, package to try out. You got to have all sorts of stuff all over your face.
You'll just have to press pause on the earplugs for a little bit.
For the babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta hear the crying.
Oh, just for Andrew. He'll just
for
knocked
Andrew.
out.
Yeah.
You mean just for me?
Yeah.
Just for
Yeah.
You have exciting stuff going on too, Katie.
I do. I mean, I don't know. Are we supposed to announce? Yeah. So Missy, another Olympic teammate who has been on this podcast, we are coming out with a podcast as well. Not sure if we're supposed to announce this, but we'll go for it.
Why not?
Why not? So yeah, it's been really cool because Missy and I were, I was 04, 08. She was 12 and 16. I actually knew Hayes more, her husband, and I've gotten to know her on such a deeper level since moving here. Which has been, I feel like we are really good, similar, like a good yin and yang of personalities and strengths. And so we've been kind of working on all the logistics, as we've been calling it. Like in swimming, there's Christmas training, and it's like it's just hard and it's grueling. And you do it so you get to taper, which is like before a big meet. So we've been saying right now is like Christmas training. We're getting everything in line and making decisions. And we have a pretty aggressive launch date, which is going to be not in 2024. So we are pumped to be able to provide a space for swimmers and athletes of just kind of like we've been talking about, going beyond how'd you feel about that record? How'd you feel about that race? What are you interested in? What makes you you? And being able to provide that, I think just gets us, like every time we talk, like I just got such a dopamine hit. Like we met on Sunday and we're going through details, and to have that, just a goal that we're both so pumped about, has been really cool.
It's also cool knowing Missy's story a bit, and Katie, just that you guys are both in a place that you're excited about that.
Yes.
5 years ago,
100%.
that would not be anything you'd be remotely interested in.
Yeah, we're like excited to go to trials and like be back in the swimming world. And like that's, from a healing journey perspective for both of us, like it's a massive step. And it's just kind of happened super organically. I like text her. I'm like, I don't even know if she's gonna say yes to me, and she was like, yes, in all caps. And so that's been fun.
We're excited for it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So fun.